What is up, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA Podcast, and it is time. This is it. This is the undefeated post-weigh-in show. We're talking UFC Vegas 263, one sleep away. I cannot wait for this fight night. I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to lose my mind. We got some stuff to talk about. Lots of fights on this card. Let's dive right on into it. If it's your first time watching, thank you for joining us. We analyze the fighters on the scale, their weigh-ins, how we think they feel, how we think they look, the body language they had. See if that gives us any extra little edge when it comes to sports betting and winning some money on Saturday come these fights. So let's start off and break this thing down. First off, I want to let you know it was pretty cool. They implemented a new rule. Fighters are not allowed to touch one another. They will, in fact, be pulled from the card. They will be fined and they will be suspended from the UFC if they touch each other outside of a simple fist bump. Good rule because we've lost a couple of fights. The Jeremy Stephens one comes to mind where he gave his opponent whiplash by shoving him at the face-off. So none of that is going to be going down. Just intense stare-downs or fist bumps are the only options. Carlos Felipe taking on Jake Collier. Felipe came in at 262.5. Big old flabby boy, I say it every single time. The guy probably could fight a weight class or two lower if he would just get himself in shape. Jake Collier, 264.5 pounds, and he is starting to come together as a heavyweight. This is a man who fought at 185, who moved up to 205, and is now fighting at heavyweight, and everyone mocks him for how he looked when he came back after that long layoff. Yes, he was out of shape. Yes, he did not look good, but he is slowly transforming. Every single time we see him, he is looking more and more in shape, and he's filling out to that heavyweight frame, and he's massive. When they faced off, big size advantage for Jake Collier. I'm already on the dog here, folks. This is one of those situations where if I hadn't made my bet on Jake Collier already, seeing him at the face-off, seeing him at the weigh-ins, realizing that he is the more athletic, the bigger man, and has all those size advantages here in a heavyweight fight, I'd be much more inclined to bet on him again already at that stage anyway. So I'm already on the dog, and the weigh-ins definitely reinforce the fact that he's got some extra additional advantages. I like the plus money. Faraz Ziam taking on Luigi Vendramini. Ziam came in at 156. He looked really good. He's tall, he's long, he's thin, cuts well, smiles, all happy. I like the guy. Luigi Vendramini came in at 155.5, and he was focused. He was laser focused, mean looking on the scales when they faced off. Obviously, Ziam is going to have a height and a reach advantage here in this case, but Luigi was a stone cold killer. He looked mean when they were facing off. This is a killer be killed type of fighter in Luigi, and again, I like him. I got on the underdog here and I took the submission prop 9-1 plus 900 for Luigi by submission. This is going to be a fun fight. It's a close fight. It may not look close after we watch it. Whoever controls this fight is probably going to look like a much bigger favorite than they are on the betting line, but we don't know a ton about them at this stage. So once again, taking a shot on the dog for me. Chase Hooper, 145.5, came in. No issues making weight whatsoever. It looks like maybe he tried to add a little bit of muscle on, but kid is a string bean. Maybe he should consider dropping. Steven Peterson came in at 148.5. He did require the box of shame. It did not help. He missed weight by a good solid 2.5 pounds. He did not take the extra hour allowance to try to cut the rest of the weight off. He's being fined 20% of his purse for missing weight. When they faced off, obviously Peterson is the much thicker guy. He's well adapted to this weight class. He's filled out. He's got the extra weight on him for this fight. It was an intense stare down, and Chase Hooper is a little out of his element here, I feel like. He's gonna need a submission to win this fight. He doesn't really beat Peterson anywhere else, and the fact that Peterson probably has that extra weight on him, it's not weight that looks like he sucked himself out for. It's not weight that looks like he tried to cut down and couldn't get there. He didn't take that extra hour to suck himself out. I'm not expecting him to be hurt by this weight cut, but you never know what goes on. Sometimes those weight cuts happen because they have personal issues. Those are the types of things that we will never know. But he didn't look like he had a hard time. So I'm not expecting Hooper to get any kind of an advantage out of that miss. I'm thinking Peterson or pass. Hooper by submission is the only other option for me. That's the only way I'd be planning on betting Chase Hooper, is for him to lock up some kind of a choke. Matt Frevola taking on Terrence McKinney. Frevola came in at 155 on the dot. He was on point, in good shape, ready to rock, in a good mood. Short notice replacement, Terrence McKinney came in at 155.5. Good of him to make weight on short notice the way he did. He gave a good flex. He didn't look at all sucked out. He moved extremely well. He fought just 9 days ago, won the LFA title, so he's just turning straight back around, getting right back on the horse. Height advantage for Terrence. Both men looked extremely confident at the face-offs. This is one where I feel like it's going under. I don't know know that I want to pick a side on this one. The way Terrence fights, the way that Frevola has some bombs in his hands, I think we could see a real scrap on this one. Frevola may have something to say about that. He's a solid wrestler, wants to take this guy down, drag him into deep waters. No idea how this one's going to play out. Complete pass for me. I'm going to lean with Frevola, the guy we know, the guy that's got the experience, but a hot killing machine like Terrence is the type of fighter that'll come in on short notice and make a name for himself. So don't want to get in the way of that. I'm passing on that fight. Piani Kinzad taking on Alexis Davis. Piani Kinzad came in at 135.5. She was calm and cool on the scales, very relaxed, looking in solid shape. Alexis Davis came in at 134.5, and she was all smiles. She looked excellent. If you look at her arms, she's in crazy good shape. You can see the veins popping out. Girl is thick. She's ready to go. There was a very respectful face-off. Both women look excited to go. Slight size advantage, Piani Kinzad. I lean slightly to Piani Kinzad, but I don't like the line. I don't like how big of a favorite she is. I kind of wanted to take the underdog Alexis Davis earlier in the week, but the juice is not worth the squeeze. It's just not quite there for me. I could see Davis pulling off that veteran lesson and getting the win here over Piani Kinzad, but she's got a tough test, and we've seen Piani improve every single time she gets in the cage. So again, a fighter I don't want to step in front of. Movsar Evloev taking on Hakeem Dawodu. Both men came in at 145.5. Evloev absolutely shredded. Both these guys absolutely shredded. These are two of those fighters that they just look insane on the scales. Great flex from Movsar Evloev. He is always in incredible shape. Hakeem Dawodu, there's not an inch of skin that you can pull off of this guy. He is absolutely stupid shredded. Incredible face-off. Very intense. Both guys talking to one another. This is a high-stakes fight. This is really a put-up or shut-up. Hakeem's only got one loss on his record. Evloev is undefeated. I feel like the wrestling of Evloev is going to, force this fight kind of into his favor. But Hakeem has a slight size advantage, so because of that, I feel like he's going to cause some problems. His striking is always there with vicious intent. He can cause some problems for Evloev if Evloev is not able to control the grappling, and we've seen him be able to do that against everybody else. But Hakeem is very good at defending the takedown and getting back up to his feet. So another fight that I'm going to side with Evloev here from a pick, but I can't bet it because it's just too wide of a line, and I respect Hakeem Dawodu way too much. Lauren Murphy taking on JoJo Calderwood. Murphy came in at 125.5, and she looked excellent. She looks excited when they called the weight off. I thought maybe she might have thought she was over or something. She gave the one-arm flex. She's pumped up. She's ready to go. JoJo Calderwood came in at 125. Business as usual. She's one of these fighters that absolutely hates her weight cut, so she's never happy on weigh-in day. We've kind of gotten used to that. Nothing really to report from her. They size up extremely well. It was a good, respectful face-off. I'm on JoJo Calderwood. I think the volume on the feet is going to be the difference, obviously. The path to Lauren Murphy's victory is going to be the ground game, the takedowns, but we're in the big cage. I think that favors my girl JoJo. I think she's going to volume Murphy up, and she'll get her hand raised at the end of this thing. Eryk Anders taking on Darren Stewart. Eryk Anders came in at 205. Yes, you heard that correctly. This is up a weight class for the rematch. Since both these guys cut so much weight, they decided to run it back up a couple of extra pounds. Darren Stewart came in at 204.5. Both guys looking excellent at 205. Not a hard cut for either guy, so they're used to making it down to 185. They were both relaxed, both looking good. When they faced off, it was a respectful but intense face-off. They kept their distance. These guys both know what's coming. Eryk Anders has the size advantage. I'm on with my boy, yo boy, Eryk Anders. I'm betting him on this particular fight. I don't like the line so much. I kind of hate the value on it, but he's the bigger guy. He's got the 205-pound experience, and Stewart just got rocked and hurt in a bad way, survived it. You got to wonder how he's going to rebound from that. You got to wonder if the confidence is there after getting hurt that badly and almost put out the last time out. I think Eryk Anders is going to get better being at fight ready constantly. I got to take the shot. Plus, I owe the guy drinks. I legitimately owe Eryk Anders a beer if he cashes a ticket for us, so I couldn't pass on the fight. Had to bet it. Had to do my due diligence as a fan there. So we got money on your boy. Drew Dober coming up on Brad Riddell here. Dober came in at 154, a whole pound below, which is a little bit interesting. You don't see that often. Brad Riddell came in at 155, and he required the box of shame. He came in with just 2 minutes left in the weigh-in period. So, he was cutting all the way up until that very last second. He looked a little bit worn out, but he made the 155-pound limit. It was a bit strange because you don't usually go for the box of shame unless you're going to hit 156. Like, you need that extra pound allowance. So somebody's scale was off somewhere on this particular fight. Brad Riddell looked good on the scale. Dober looked good on the scale, but he's always a bit sucked out. This is another big, muscular guy. He looked fine by the face-offs, though. He filled in. He got his hydration going, and he's good to go. They sized up extremely well. Slight size advantage for Brad Riddell. This is going to be a fun fight. I lean dog or pass here. I know the world is on Drew Dober. I'm extremely tempted to throw a shot on my guy, Brad Riddell. He's got the size advantage. I think he's going to be able to get the grappling going here, and that's been the key to beating Drew Dober in the past. And on top of that, Brad Riddell is not going to be out of his element on the feet striking with this guy. He's not a guy that's easy to put down and knock out, and I know that's Dober's path to victory, but nobody does that to Brad Riddell. So I think he's definitely live here for the upset. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the trigger on it. There's other spots. I've already got a ton of action on this card. I don't need any more action on this card, but I might just end up pulling the trigger on that one because at this point, why the hell not? Paul Craig taking on Jamahal Hill. We've got Craig coming in at 204.5, and he was stone cold and intense as always. This guy is always fired up for face-offs. Jamahal Hill came in at 205.5. He looked focused. He was excellent shape, ready to go, and both these guys are amped up. When they got to the face-offs, Dana looked ridiculously freaked out. He got between them. He started shoving them apart before they even got close. Of course, with that no touching rule, these are the types of guys that you'd worry about touching each other when they got in each other's face. So this one is not going the distance, folks. I'd be looking at the under 1.5 here as well because these guys are out for blood. Jamahal Hill has already said that he's going to kill Paul Craig. He's going to knock him out cold. I think he does. I'm on the Jamahal Hill side of things, but you got to respect Paul Craig and his skill set. And based on this face-off, based off these weigh-ins, there's nothing that would scare me from either of these guys. Paul Craig came in on point. He's intense. If you like him as an underdog, he will fight for your money. So absolutely nothing at the face-offs that leads me to change my opinion whatsoever. I'm going to stick with Jamahal Hill. Demian Maia taking on Belal Muhammad. Both men came in at 170.5. Demian Maia looked surprisingly good. I mean, the dude's 43 years old. I was expecting him to kind of start sagging and slow down a little bit here. He looked fantastic. No issues. Belal Muhammad came in. He was great shape as well. Business as usual for that man. He gave the Arnold flex, so he's kind of feeling himself. Looked in solid shape. Slight size advantage to Demian Maia. We knew that coming in. And Belal faked a takedown. He went for that and trying to punk his opponent just a little bit, but it's all in good fun. Belal's a good guy. He doesn't mess with people that way. Demian didn't flinch, though. To his credit, the dude is stone cold. He's been here before. He knows all the games. He's also a gamer. He's a guy that has fun. He likes to mess with his opponents and do it in a good way. So he smiled. They had a good little laugh about it. That's going to be a fun fight. I'm on Belal Muhammad. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting a little nervous. Demian Maia is not a guy that you fade lightly, and I've got way too much money on Belal Muhammad in a couple of different parlays. So I'm a little nervous, and I may end up hedging just a bit to try and save myself some money because I'm not sure I should be as exposed as I am on Belal Muhammad. We'll see what happens. That's just me starting to sweat because of the amount of action I put in on this week. Leon Edwards taking on Nate Diaz. Edwards came in at 170.5. He was first to the scales, made a statement, stone cold killer, great shape and business as usual for this man. He's been here before. He wants his title shot. Nate Diaz came in at 170, and he looked good. He looked damn good on the scales. I'm not going to lie. Diaz filled out. He's been a 155er that's moved up to 170, and I've talked about that before, and I've said that he's not the kind of guy that I've got a lot of faith in at 170, but he's packed on some size. He's done a good job of that. So maybe we see a little something from Nate we're not expecting. And as always, he had that swagger. This was a good face-off. These guys size up extremely well. Incredibly intense from Nate Diaz. This guy's a fighter's fighter. He loves to get in there and just get down and work on his opponent. Leon, stone cold, like I said, did not flinch, doesn't give his opponent an inch, doesn't respect anybody in there. He goes in, does what he does, and like I said, he's really hunting that title shot. So good, solid face-off. If anything, what I saw leans me a little bit towards Nate Diaz, and I say a little bit only because of this line getting out of control. You're getting plus 400, a huge underdog payday on Nate Diaz. I can't hate anybody for taking the shot, but I think he's out of his element. I think Leon Edwards is a real current fighter. He knows how to play the game. He knows the point system. He's going to do whatever it takes to win this thing, and it's 5 rounds. This is a non-title fight, non-main event, 5-round fight. That favors Leon in a big, big way, in my opinion. So I'm on Leon Edwards. Got him in those parlays like I talked about before. So that's the side I'm going, and good luck if you're on Diaz. I don't mind the fan shot whatsoever. Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Brendan Moreno. Both men came in on point at 125 pounds. However, Moreno came in early. He was breath of fresh air. He looked incredible. He looked relaxed. He looked smooth. He was ready to go, moved well, pumped up. Deiveson was the literal last person on the scale. He had 1 minute left to make weight before the fight was canceled because he didn't make the 2-hour weigh-in period. He required the box of shame, and he had people helping him up and down the staircases. He could not get himself on stage for the weigh-in. He's already talked about how he wants to move up and challenge for the title at 135. He hates this weight cut, and it's killing him to get down there. I'm scared by what I saw from Deiveson Figueiredo. Those of you who follow me on Twitter, at Die Hard MMA Pod, know that I'm a massive fan of Brandon Moreno. I've been trying to stop myself from betting on him because my heart is involved in this particular pick. I had to do it. After seeing Deiveson Figueiredo look the worst we have ever seen him at a weigh-in, and that's saying something. This guy always looks bad on the scales. Always. We expect that. But the fact that he had someone trying to help him up and down the stairs because he was going to fall over if he didn't have someone to hang on to, this is the worst weight cut I've ever seen from Deiveson Figueiredo. And the fact that Moreno looks so relaxed, so crisp, so clean, good to go, he's going to have far more energy than his opponent. He's not going to have as hard of a time getting the weight back, filling up, rehydrating. I think that's going to favor Brandon Moreno in a big way. So when they faced off, he finally got a little bit of respect. Deiveson did go ahead and give him the fist bump, and Moreno did his classic heart pose, which I love. He's another guy that brings good energy to the octagon where we need it. This is going to be a great fight. I can't wait. I got the under 4.5 at -110, -115. I think that if Figueiredo is going to win this fight, he's going to do it by finish, and he's probably going to do it early. I've got everything else on Brandon Moreno. I've got the underdog at +180. I've got the submission prop at 12-1. And, of course, I sprinkled rounds 3, 4, and 5 for my boy Brandon Moreno because the deeper this fight gets, I expect that cardio to become an issue for the champion Figueiredo, and I hope we see and new on Saturday for my guy, Brandon Moreno. Main event time. Israel Adesanya taking on Marvin Vettori. Israel Adesanya came in at 183.5. Very, very odd, like I said, to come that far under your weigh-in weight of 185. But this is a guy that does not cut weight. He's a Frankie Edgar type. He really weighs 183 pounds, so he makes no effort to drop any weight leading into the fights, which allows him to perform at his peak. He's in great shape. He looked very relaxed. No issues whatsoever for Israel Adesanya. Vettori came in at 184.5, and he gave a big, big flex. Extremely confident right now as Marvin Vettori. He's definitely riding high on his own brand. Dana White had to hold these two guys back. I mean, this was a crazy intense face-off. Israel Adesanya not blinking, ready for anything that comes. Vettori, we know this guy is a bit of an emotional case, and he was roaring at Israel Adesanya. You got Dana White holding him back. He's got the veins popping out in his neck. Like, this is going to be a great fight. I cannot wait for this fight whatsoever. I've got Israel Adesanya in one of my parlays. I kind of like Israel Adesanya by knockout. Vettori is more than going to bring the fight to Israel Adesanya, and that's when Izzy shines. That's when he is the opportunity to counter. He's a precision, deadly striker, and he really has to remind people who he is. Coming off a loss to Jan Blachowicz, you're going to expect maximum effort from Israel Adesanya. I expect we see that on Saturday. So I'm in the Izzy camp side of things. But if you like Marvin Vettori, he's looking the best he ever has physically speaking, so I don't fault you whatsoever for that. Once again, this is a spot where, based on what I saw, there's no change in opinion because both guys look like they are hitting their peak at the exact right time for the fight on Saturday. So there you go, folks. That is the Undefeated post-weigh-in show. The only addition that I've actually made on this show is Brandon Moreno. That's the only one that I made after the weigh-ins. I was already planning on making that under 4.5 bet. I just wanted to see both these guys on the scale, so I don't really count that as a post-weigh-in show read or play. I'm still considering Brad Riddell. I want to see how far this line goes because all the money coming in on his opponent is driving up that plus money on Brad Riddell. If I can get plus 140, plus 150 by fight time, I'll sure as hell take that. I don't know if it'll ever get there, but I'm waiting to see how that goes. And I'll be honest, the shakiness, him needing the box to get on the scale, that does concern me just a little bit. I'm not massively concerned because he's never had an issue, but I always hate when the box of shame comes out in that kind of a situation. There you go, folks. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Give me a follow at Die Hard MMA Pod. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Hit me up online if you have any extra additional questions, and let me know what you're betting this weekend. Good luck. We'll see you live for UFC 263 on Saturday. Have a good one. Let's roll.